For the past 14 years, the UK has been led by its Conservative Party, the Tories. But that could soon change. Polling from our partners at the BBC show the Labour Party is on track to win the largest share of parliamentary seats in the upcoming July 4th election. Prime Minister Sunak's own Conservative Party is polling at 21%. Some estimates have the Tories winning as few as 72 seats compared to the 365 seats they won in 2019's general election. Adrian Wooldridge joins me now. He's a global business columnist at Bloomberg Opinion. Adrian, it's great to have you with us. Why is this happening to the Conservative Party?
Well, what's happening to the Conservative Party is extraordinary. It's either going to be a catastrophe or an apocalypse for them. Why is it happening? Because they've ruled for 14 years, and for many of those years, they've ruled extremely badly, and people are really tired of it.
And are they tired with Conservatives particularly, or are they just kicking out the group that's been in power for 14 years and we need change?
I think there's a big anti-incumbency sentiment. So in Scotland, for example, where you've got the Scottish Nationalist Party in power, they're also being kicked out. So people are angry about what's going on, but they're particularly angry with the Conservatives for several reasons, one of which is that there's been a very chaotic set of policies or institutions. You know, if you've been Secretary of State for Education for 2 months, you're given a long-time service award. They've been changing their people. We've had 5 prime ministers since 2016, sort of Italian levels of chaos. But more than that, they promised that Brexit would change the country fundamentally, make people richer, provide lots and lots of resources for the National Health Service. The last election, which the Tories won with a majority of 80 in 2019, led by Boris Johnson, was get Brexit done. That was their promise. We got Brexit done, and the country hasn't got better. It's probably got worse.
And so where, if I'm a Conservative, am I just staying home? Am I going somewhere else? What's happening with the voter?
It depends where you are. If you're a so-called Red Wall Conservative, who are the people who came from the Labour Party, classic Labour voters who shifted to the Conservatives in 2019, lured by Brexit and Boris Johnson, you're going home to the Labour Party, or you're going back to the Labour Party. If you're in the South, a more prosperous, middle-class, traditional Conservative voter, you may well be going to the Lib Dems. So they're being attacked on both sides. They're losing core supporters from both sides.
So now let's talk about the other side, the Labour Party. Is the Labour Party just the beneficiary of all of this unhappy sentiment, or does it have a character or caste that we can define?
The Labour Party is promising stability. They're promising getting rid of the clown show and bringing serious, sensible adults back in charge of the country. It's not like 1997, when Tony Blair was a really exciting new figure when he represented the force of change. It's the force of, stability, of sensible politics. But what is extraordinary is that Keir Starmer is not a great politician, certainly not an exciting politician, but he may well be the person who gets the biggest Labour majority in the history of the Labour Party. It's quite extraordinary what is happening.
And what would happen if he gets this enormous majority? Just what could the possible outcomes be in terms of daily life and policy and that kind of thing?
Well, one of the things that could happen, we have a system in Britain of elective dictatorship, essentially. There is no constraint on the power of the Prime Minister, not very much legal constraint. The minority party doesn't really have any rights. It's very different from the system you have here of checks and balances. So he could do pretty much what he wants. Now, he's a very sensible person. He's got the Corbynite left of the party either expelled or under control. So I suspect that it will be a centrist, middle-of-the-road, very well-disciplined government.
Now, you are a student of American politics. You covered America for a very long time living here. There used to be a kind of connectivity between British politics and American politics. Do you see anything that's happening there that's connected to American politics?
Well, many people might look at Britain and see the collapse of the Conservative Party and say, well, this bodes very well for the election if they happen to be anti-Trump Democrats. I don't think it does, really. I think the Republican Party will win or lose independent of this. There is not, I think, a big shift to the left globally. In fact, across Europe, you're seeing a shift to the right. There is an anti-incumbent sentiment all around the world. You see it in India, you see it in France, you see it in Britain. So I don't think it presages anything particularly good for either Biden or Trump. You could treat it as anti-incumbency, you could treat it as anti-chaos. Trump is chaos, but Biden is incumbency.
Does this analogy hold that in 2020 there was this argument in America that essentially Biden was not a dynamic force for a new generation? He was stability after the excessive Trump years. Is that happening in the UK, but just 4 years later?
There's definitely a vote for stability, and there's definitely, they try and use some of the rhetoric of Biden, such as security. Securonomics is the Rachel Reeves is terribly clumsy formulation of what they're offering. So I think that is an analogy. But another interesting thing is that the Tories, in power for 14 years, introduced Brexit, pushed it through, and are subjected to a verdict on Brexit, which is actually, it wasn't very good. Now, Trump, who came in at exactly the same time as Brexit, isn't being held accountable for his policies. Well, because he was kicked out of power and is now coming in as a force for change. The other interesting thing that's happening in Britain is that Nigel Farage, who is a Trumpist, close to Trump and represents Trump's policies, could be becoming a force in British politics. We don't yet know what's going to happen there, but he's certainly taking a lot of votes from the Conservative Party.
Bloomberg's Adrian Wooldridge. Thanks so much, Adrian.
Thank you.